Do you ever wake up some days and you just feel depressed, anxious, stressed, moody, lack of mental clarity? You just don't kind of feel like yourself and you're not really sure why? Well, sometimes the answer is very simple. It could be what's on your plate or some of the habits you're engaging in. Today I'm over here hiking in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. And I met this really interesting guy that's been teaching me a lot about mental health. And I wanted to share this story with you. At one point in my life, I was a college professor. And when I first started teaching, I had classes sometimes of up to 500 students. I'd look around the room. I see people in the back texting or talking, and it would drive me nuts because I really wanted to give them this valuable information. And one thing I learned in that process is not to read off scripts, to share stories, because that helps them retain the information. Once I learned that, I had everybody's attention. It was really good. So I want to share this story with you. I met this really interesting guy at the youth hostel, and he's on this tour with me. And right now I'm actually in a yurt. These things are amazing. It's like a huge tent. We pack it up in about a half an hour. We travel in the desert, and then we just set it up in about an hour. And I just happen to have my own because I'm in a group where there's a lot of women, so I'm in my own yurt. So I wanted to share this beautiful place with you. So anyway, I was talking to this gentleman, and he was telling me about how he was homeless for a couple years. He engages some drug use. He ended up being diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he was telling me about the medications he was taking, and yes, they are common medications that you take with schizophrenia. And I told him, hey, why don't we, he was asking me for suggestions. I go, why don't we try changing your diet a little bit? Because I was watching what he was eating, and I noticed he was eating a lot of processed food. So for a few days, he ate exactly what I ate, which is pretty hard in Mongolia. They eat about 90% meat here. They're nomads, and they eat cows and sheep, and the food looks amazing. But if you're a person that's from an environment like a city, or you've had drug use, or you have some mental health issues, you have to be more sensitive about the food that you're eating. You want to keep in mind that because your brain, it doesn't work the same as someone else, you have to make accommodations for that. Now, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Remember, people are all different. Some are fat, some are skinny, some are tall, some are short. We're just different. We're all the same. No one's better than anybody. It's just that we work different. So we have to respect that, and we have to live a lifestyle that's supportive of what our needs are. So he started trying to eat what I was eating. He was eating it. We were just eating vegetarian food. We ate beans, nuts, and vegetables. And over the course of the 3 days, I was watching him because I was with him 24 hours a day. And in my regular jobs in Los Angeles, I see people with mental health issues virtually every day. I have hundreds of people I see. And I've been doing it for 25 years. So I saw him transition. I saw him become much more relaxed. Our conversations were much more fluid. He was much more focused. I saw him smile a lot more. And all this was very fascinating because it's like a study or an experiment. It's something that I really don't get the opportunity to do when I'm working out in the city. Usually my visits with patients are short, and maybe I see them once a week, maybe I see them once a day, but I don't get to spend 24 hours a day with them like I have been with this gentleman. So I saw a huge improvement. In fact, even the topics he would bring up were very interesting and stimulating. We just had a great time. We had a great connection. And then one day he woke up and he just wasn't feeling it. He wasn't feeling good. Like I said, sometimes we wake up, we just don't feel good. And I think in his mind, he was thinking, I'm not feeling good because I'm not eating my typical diet. And from what I gathered from what he was sharing with me, he eats a lot of fast food. He lives in the US, eats a lot of fast food, a lot of processed food, and that's kind of like his go-to. He told me he pretty much eats out every day. He said in the past he would cook at home, but he hadn't done it for months because he said he was busy. So I said, fine. I mean, you eat whatever you want, of course, you're free to do that. So he went and I watched him. We went to a place and I noticed he got 3 large sodas, very large ones. Remember, a 12-ounce can of Coke is about 38 grams of sugar. That's just a regular can of Coke or Sprite or Mountain Dew, something like that. And a 12-ounce cup, I guess, of orange juice, apple juice, typically about 50 grams of sugar. So that's quite a bit. But he was buying these big ones. They were kind of like, almost like big gulps. And they had about 50, I calculated out about 50 grams of sugar each. He had 3 huge ones. He got a hot dog. He got 3 slices of pepperoni pizza. And then he got these 2 huge cookies that I calculated were about 25 grams each. So all in all, he had about 200 grams of sugar in this one meal. This guy's big. I'm 6'2", he's probably about 6'4", about 260, you know, big guy. Not necessarily overweight, just heavy, you know, and he was eating, so he's a big guy. And he ate this meal, and in the course of the day, he probably had about 5 meals. You know, this was just one meal for him, kind of like a snack, even though it's a lot of food. And of course, the quality of the food, it was not the best, but the thing I want to focus on is the sugar, okay? If you look at the 3 sodas, the 2 cookies, I calculated he had about 200 grams of sugar with this one meal. 200 grams. Now, what is that? What does that mean? So about 4 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon. So when you look at a jar of peanut butter or bread or cookies or whatever it is you're buying that might be processed, look at the food label and look at how many grams of sugar it has. Every 4 grams is a teaspoon of sugar, all right? So he had about 200 grams of sugar in this one meal. If you divide that by 4, it's about 50 teaspoons of sugar. Now, how much is that? Now, this is a 1.5 liter bottle of water I got that someone left here. And I calculated that this has almost 50 teaspoons of sugar, about 3/4 of the bottle. Now, this is a big bottle. Look at the size of it. Now, in one meal, this gentleman had 50 teaspoons of sugar, about 3/4 of this bottle of water. That's a lot of sugar. And, you know, if somebody asks, well, doc, how would you even get that much sugar there? Because sugar's, you know, it's a powder. Well, remember, sugar changes state. If you've ever baked a cake or made desserts, you know that when you heat up sugar, it turns to liquid. Okay, so yeah, you're not gonna have all that powder, but if you look at a can of Coke, about 75% of that is actually sugar and about 25% water. So you're thinking, well, how does it flow? You know, how do I drink it? Well, the way they do it is they change the form of the sugar. In the US, for example, we use high fructose corn syrup a lot for soft drink. And that's a liquid that's derived from corn. Remember, corn is high in starch, and starch is a form of concentrated sugar. Okay, so then you break that apart and it has a lot of sugar. That's why if you're diabetic, oftentimes a doctor will tell you, don't eat rice, don't eat potatoes, don't eat pasta, because they're high in starch. So if you're trying to control your weight or, you know, look at your mental health or improve your mental health, you also want to look out for starch, not just sugar. When we humans eat, we make glucose, okay? So food, whether it's lettuce, tomatoes, or cookies, is like petroleum, like the gas that comes out of or I should say the oil that comes out of the ground. We eat it, we process it, we make it into glucose, which is like gasoline in a car. And we function on glucose. Like you can't get oil out of the ground and put it in an engine, it won't work. You have to refine it, make it into gasoline. So for humans, it's the same thing. We have to get all the food we eat, we process it, we make it into glucose. Now, we get excessive amounts of glucose or sugar, it's a type of sugar, we make it into fat. So that's what makes us heavy. That's why if you're eating foods that are high in starch, like rice, potatoes, pasta, then you're gonna gain weight because a lot of energy, it's concentrated. Again, so back to the soft drinks, sugary drinks. They use beetroot, they use sugar beets, they use corn, they use regular cane sugar, all that stuff, the sugar, they use it as sweeteners. Now, what does that do to your body? All right, so I was watching this guy after he had that meal. We were walking through the desert, and all of a sudden he got really irritable. He was being kind of unfriendly with me and with the guide, and I just kind of backed off. I thought, okay, he needs some space. So I was watching him as he was walking in the background, and I saw him talking to himself quite a bit. He was like laughing, then I see him kind of get angry, make faces, and it looked like he was having some delusional episodes. Now, all of us talk to ourselves. We have self-talk, okay? That's pretty normal for people, but then it reaches a point where it's kind of excessive and it can impact your function on a daily basis. In this sense, it was impacting his function. I guess that's why his psychiatrist may have diagnosed him with schizophrenia. His voices were talking to him. He he started getting irritable. I could hear him kind of arguing with somebody, but there was nobody there. We were literally in the desert. It was an interesting experience. Now, what I noticed is after a while, his body started burning up all that sugar. You know, you start producing insulin, you start burning it up, and then you have a crash. You know, you hear of a sugar crash or a caffeine crash. Then he got even more irritable. And then he was like, I'm hungry. I go, well, you know, here's some apples, some peanut butter, whatever we had. And he's like, no, I want a Coke. I want some cookies. Like, he was actively voicing that he wanted sugar. And that's where the addiction part comes in. I work at drug rehabs as well as psych rehabs. And there's an interesting thing that I see, a dynamic. Oftentimes when you have mental health issues and you're taking medications, you're getting therapy, you're getting, you know, psychiatric help, psychological help, and you're kind of trying to change that state of mind, oftentimes people look for replacement behaviors. And what I see is they look for things that give them highs and then have crashes. And that is kind of like a rush, and it causes an addictive experience for people. Oftentimes when I go to these rehabs, I'll see people drinking excessive amounts of coffee, caffeine. Nothing wrong with caffeine. Caffeine's actually good for your brain. It's an antioxidant. There's two things though to keep in mind. One, you don't want to add cow's milk because it's inflammatory. Not the best thing for people. Causes allergies. Two, you don't want to add sugars to it. Sugars, creamers, all that artificial stuff, all the stuff they add at Starbucks basically is not going to be good for you. It's a lot of sugar. And again, that's going to lead to the highs and the lows in your mood and in your behavior. And it's going to cause you to gain weight. So if you're going to drink coffee, you want to drink just plain coffee, use plant-based milks without sugar in them, you know, like soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, but look at the ingredients and look at the grams of sugar. Make sure it says 0 added grams of sugar. There's no sugar added, okay? Otherwise you're gonna have the same issue. And if you absolutely need a sweetener, you can use stevia. Don't use honey. Honey is sugar. It's gonna have the same effect. Now, the thing is, if you're taking a lot of caffeine in, whether it's from a Coke or it's from coffee, again, that's another stimulant. So it causes you to go up and then you come down and you want another one. You know, like my dad, he drinks like 3 pots a day of coffee. He's addicted to it. Now he's functioning, he's fine, so not a problem, and there are benefits. It hydrates you, it's good for your memory. So there are a lot of benefits to coffee. However, if you have mental health issues, probably not the best thing to use. Why? Because if you're using caffeine, it's gonna cause those mood swings, okay? So again, you have to take into account how you feel and how your body is. I don't drink coffee. Even though it has health benefits, it makes me too jittery. It kind of makes me aggressive, to be honest with you. And it causes me to it actually causes me to become non-productive because I'm bouncing off the walls. Now, sometimes, especially when I'm studying or I'm writing or I'm doing something where I really have to engage my mind, caffeine helps me, as it helps everybody. It's good for your brain. It's good for your focus, but I use green tea. Green tea is good. I use maca tea from South America, Argentina. The maca tea is also good. It gives you a stimulant for your brain. It helps you with clarity, focus, but you don't get jittery. And I don't get those, I don't feel aggressive or spicy. So it helps me with my mood. I'm managing my mood. I'm being conscious of its effect on me. So if you have mental health issues, caffeine is good, but maybe it's not good for you because maybe it's gonna agitate you. If you're stressed, if you're anxious, it's gonna make you more jittery. So oftentimes you'll have more stress or anxiety. So probably not something you wanna drink. And if you're drinking soft drinks, again, they have a lot of caffeine also. And power drinks or, all these stimulants that people drink, those are not the best choice if you're having those types of mental health issues. Okay, now the sugary drink. Again, sugary drinks are basically not good for any aspect of health. So whether you're diabetic, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, arthritis, you name it, any disorder that you have, sugar is gonna make it worse. And on top of it all, it makes you age fast. So, eat it sparingly. I know it tastes good. We humans are wired to love sugar. It's almost like crack for us. In fact, it affects the same part of your brain as crack or cocaine does. It causes an addiction because we're wired to survive, human beings. Remember, we've been around millions of years. Just like these nomadic Mongolians that live in these yurts. We put this place together, like I said, like in about an hour, and we're gonna break it down in a half an hour, and we're gonna keep moving. These people have been doing this for thousands of years. And why? Because they're looking for food. So when we're hunters and gatherers, we're looking for something that's gonna give us the highest energy source. So that's hardwired into our biology, into our neurology. That's how we function. So when you eat a tomato or some kale or spinach, I mean, sure, you know, it's good for you, and I actually do like the taste, but I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't beat a donut or some See's candy. I mean, it just doesn't compare, but you have to do a cost-benefit analysis, and you have to think about what your goals are. I want healthier weight, I want better mental health, I want to live longer, I want to have less mental health issues, I want to have better memory, then maybe I'm going to avoid some of those things. You know, that's why I don't smoke marijuana, I don't drink alcohol, you know, marijuana, crack, all that stuff. Heroin is not going to be the best for your long-term health. So sugar is not to that extreme, but if you're eating high doses of it every day, it's definitely going to impact your physical and your mental health. And remember, mental health affects physical health, and physical health affects mental health. If you have stress, anxiety, depression, delusions, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar, whatever the case might be, you're not going to be feeling your best if you're out of balance. You're not going to feel like going for walks or doing exercise. Sometimes patients tell me they'll stay home and lay in bed for weeks at a time. You know, they won't even get out of bed to go to the bathroom sometimes. So it can reach a very difficult, it can cause a lot of dysfunction. So you don't want to add to that by adding the sugar. Now, why does it have that effect on you? All right, so sugar is kind of like the caffeine. It causes highs and lows. When we're hunters and gatherers, we're looking for things that have the highest energy source. We want to eat and we want to survive, okay? We don't know if you're going to eat every day. These nomads that are moving around, they don't always find food. That's why we can survive 30 days without food. That's why we can survive about 3 days without water. We're wired for survival. So when you go somewhere, your physiology, you're hardwired, you're going to look at the chocolate cake and you're going to look at that salad, you're going to say, I want the chocolate cake. Everybody's going to want the chocolate cake. It has more sugar, okay? And that sugar is going to be really stimulating for your brain, and it's going to give you a lot of energy so you can survive several days on that. Look at the calories, okay? Calories is like kind of like gasoline for a car. A small piece of cake will give you like 10 gallons of gasoline so you can run on it for days. Whereas a salad might give you, you know, a cup of gasoline, and you can only run on that for half a day. So it's not going to give you a lot of calories. So yes, it's good for survival, but most of us are not nomads, and we live in cities or we live in places where we have plentiful amounts of food. So if you're always eating that chocolate cake, you're going to get too much calories, or that processed food, or, you know, that bacon cheeseburger or French fries or Coke, whatever, you're going to gain weight, and it's going to cause mental crashes, because when you eat the sugar, it's a stimulant, kind of like the caffeine. You go up, you're high. Remember I mentioned that it triggers a part of your brain that's also stimulated by crack and cocaine, all these other drugs, but then you come out, you come down from it. Your body starts producing insulin, you break it down, you get out of your bloodstream, you stabilize your blood sugar, which is normal. That means your body's working. If you're diabetic, hopefully you're taking your insulin, the same process is gonna happen. But in that process of going up, it's like getting high. And then you come down and you're like, oh man, I want some more. Just the way the guy that's doing crack or meth or fentanyl feels when he comes down. Not to that extreme, but know that when you're addicted to sugar, which most people are, because we have a lot of it in our processed food, a lot of it mixed in with our bread, and just a lot of the things that we eat that we're not even aware it's in there. It causes kind of like this low-grade addiction. And that's what I was observing with this gentleman, and that's what I see all the time with my patients. They'll come in, one clinic I go to, before I start talking, it's funny, they'll come in with like 2 big gulps. That's from 7-Eleven. Those are about 50 grams of sugar each, and then they'll have a seat and sip on them while I'm talking. And I'm understanding that physiologically, yes, the brain is gonna feel better, and it's gonna crave those high energy sources. Remember I said the chocolate cake versus the salad, because again, your brain is almost back in the caveman days. It's still thinking, well, I don't know what I'm gonna eat again. So I better eat that cake because I'm gonna have like 10 gallons of gasoline versus eating that salad, which is only gonna give me a cup. Now, if you're able really to think about that and think, well, hey, I know I'm gonna have food, I don't really need that chocolate cake, then you can eat that salad, because you'll know there'll be more salad later, there'll be eggs, there'll be beans, there'll be nuts, there'll be things that are healthier for you in the long run. That's the trick. It's kind of like trying to manage your input, managing things that are going to come in that are actually going to help your brain health, your physical health, versus letting things in that are going to destabilize your mental and physical health. Remember we talked about how mental health affects physical health? Well, if you don't feel good physically, if you have more pain, more inflammation, more symptoms with your arthritis, back pain, etc. You gain weight. That's gonna make it hard to move and you're not gonna feel good. First, it's gonna affect your self-esteem oftentimes, and also chronic pain can make you feel irritable and unhappy. It can add to your depression, your stress, your anxiety, your mental health. It can destabilize your mental health. So you wanna be conscious of two things. It's kind of like juggling. If I had a couple of balls here, I'd juggle for you a little bit. You have to juggle the two things. It's like the yin and the yang. So that's how sugar and poor food, caffeine, things like that can affect and destabilize your mental health. Now, back to this gentleman. He was craving the sugar, but there was no sugar, okay? After he came down from that 200-gram meal, we were in the desert. He went back to eating healthy food. Remember, we're isolated. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're literally in Mongolia. So there's nobody. This whole country, by the way, which is huge, it's about the 20th largest country in the world, only has 3 million people. That's it. I was like, wow, I live in Los Angeles. We have 4 million in the city of LA. We have like 10 million in LA County. I was like, this whole country, which is huge, it's like a big portion of the United States, close to the size of the United States, only has 3 million, okay? Just to put that in perspective. So he had no sugar. So he started eating healthy, and guess what? I observed him. His behavior improved. He started talking about nice things again, or things that were a lot more pleasant, okay? When he wasn't feeling good, he was talking about really angry things. He was upset. He was like cursing a lot. All that changed. He stopped cursing. He was smiling more. He seemed to enjoy things more. His outlook changed. And you know, I see this all the time in clinics. I see it all the time. I've seen it for years. When I see people eat healthy, I see their mental health improve and their physical health, and vice versa. When I see people that are regularly eating poorly, I see a slow decline. Now, that doesn't mean that's a fact. It's just anecdotal. That's what I experience. That's what I see. But that's what I've been seeing for 25 years, and it's pretty consistent. And in this mini experiment with this gentleman, this guy gave me a lot of insight, and he really helped me see and reinforce a lot of the stuff that I see in my daily life with patients. That if you are able to better manage the food you eat, your mental health is gonna improve and you're gonna feel better. If you're not able to manage it, oftentimes I'll see the symptoms getting worse, as I did with this gentleman. And remember, he was on his medication the whole time. He was showing me, he was taking his Seroquel and all these other medications that he takes to help stabilize his mental health. So sometimes patients will say, well, doc, I take medication, I'm good. I can eat whatever I want. I can engage in, activities that are not real good for my brain, like watching a lot of porn, playing violent video games, listen to violent music, watching violent music or movies. All this kind of stuff is kind of destabilizing for pretty much anybody, but more so if you have mental health issues. But again, if you're able to control the inputs, the outputs are going to improve. Okay, so now we have a little background. Let's just go over things that are favorable for good mental and physical health and things that are unfavorable. So let me give you the top 3 that are unfavorable. Number 1 would be sugar and refined carbohydrates like pastries, white bread, candies, anything with sugar pretty much. That's gonna cause those big swings up and then the crashes. And when you crash, it wrecks your mental health. It makes you feel irritable, unstable, and unhappy. And you might say, well, doc, well, I love that candy bar, Snickers, or whatever. Yeah, they do taste good going down. But once that burn starts happening, you start eating up all that sugar, then you have a crash and you're left with irritability and mental instability. Number 2, ultra processed and fried foods. Now those are some of the tastier ones. But remember we talked about like processed food, they use what's called the bliss point in science. They have a balance of high sugar and high salt. And that triggers a part of your brain that causes an addiction. Because in nature, you either find foods that are sweet, like fruits, or salty, like maybe a piece of seafood or some seaweed, but you don't find both in nature. So scientists have figured out if they make processed food combining the two, it causes addiction, but it also causes a stimulatory response. Almost like if you had a low dose of some type of drug, like fentanyl or crack or something. And if you look at a food, let's say like nachos or with the Doritos, they have high salt, obviously, because you eat them, they're salty. But if you really dig down, you'll see there's even sugar in there. You're like, why is there sugar in this salty food? The scientists that we have are very smart, of course. And what they do is they increase slightly the amount of salt. So when when you eat it, you're only registering the salt, but the sugar is getting sneaked in there. Kind of like if you eat Dave's bread or some of these other processed breads, like you wouldn't think there's really sugar in these healthy breads. But if you look at the ingredients, again, look at the grams, you'll see 4 grams, 5 grams, 8 grams, a teaspoon or 2 in every slice. So you're getting low doses of sugar all day. So that's why these refined carbohydrates, that's why these ultra-processed foods, these fried foods, are tricky. They sneak sugar in, and then they cause inflammation in your body, especially in your brain. You get inflammation in your brain, you're gonna have dysfunction. It's not gonna work the same. When you think about inflammation, think about a piece of metal that's been out in the yard, okay? It gets all rusty, it doesn't look nice. Well, if you eat foods that are inflammatory, like processed foods or sugar, it causes oxidation inside your body, or kind of like rusting on that metal, and that causes things to slow down, not work as well. They break. You get older, you get arthritis, your skin starts sagging, and your brain starts missing a beat. You know, like when you get older and you see people and they're like, oh, I don't remember, where was that? You know, your eyesight gets affected, your hearing, everything, because it's affecting your brain, and that's the computer. Number 3, excessive amounts of alcohol or caffeine. And actually, like the newest research shows, there are no safe levels of alcohol. They used to say, oh, 1 glass of wine a day. Sorry, the new research says there's no safe limit. Every drink you take does brain damage, kills brain cells. Now, everybody has their vices, so if that's something you like to do, you do it in moderation, but I don't recommend any. I don't drink any alcohol, not even a sip. Every time someone offers me at a party, they say, hey, how about just 1 drink? I think, oh man, do I really want to like wipe out a few thousand brain cells with a sip of that, whatever it is? Not really, I'm good. So alcohol and caffeine, and we already went over how caffeine affects you, they're disruptors. They deplete your brain of nutrients, and that can actually cause heightened anxiety, more anxiety. That's why I always mention to patients, if you're drinking coffee and if you take alcohol, I definitely recommend you take supplements, at least a multivitamin, magnesium, vitamin D, and omega fatty acids. Those are my big 4. Those help replenish some of the stuff you might lose when you're eating unfavorable diets. Now, I'm not saying, oh yeah, take these supplements and I'm good. I can drink all this caffeine, this alcohol. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're gonna do that, this is a way to kind of buffer some of the damage and help you maintain some of your mental stability. Now, let me give you 3 simple foods that you could eat that will help you build a happier mind and have more mental stability and clarity for everybody, not just people that have mental health issues, everybody. Because remember, your mind is like the ocean. It goes up and down, everybody. You, me, Brad Pitt, Joe Biden, whoever you want to think of, our minds are up and down. And a lot of it is going to depend on what you're eating throughout the day. So if you can focus on eating things throughout the day that are going to balance you, then you're going to have better outcome. You're going to have better behaviors, you're going to function better, you're going to be happier. And the people around you are going to be happier because you're going to not have to deal with some of the issues that you might have when you don't eat good or don't take care of yourself. Number 1, the most important, omega fatty acids, walnuts, chia seeds, fatty fish. Remember, your brain is about 60% fat. If you've ever seen a cow brain, it looks like Jell-O. It's all fat. I actually saw some camel brains yesterday. Somebody was eating them and it looked like Jell-O. Okay, that's how all brains are. If you eat proteins like, you know, beans or nuts or something like that, or peas, or pretty much everything has protein, lettuce, tomatoes, onions, all fruits and vegetables, everything that is alive, by the way, has protein or they would not be alive. That's why when you look outside, see the camels, the goats, the sheep, the cows, they're full of muscle and all they eat is grass all day. So just a side note, everything has protein. Most people eat about double, so you don't have to take extra doses of protein. But if you take protein, generally your body's gonna use it to build muscle tissue, okay? Your brain doesn't use all that protein, it uses fats. So if you give it healthy fats, I recommend consuming it with every meal. I eat nuts, I might use a little extra virgin olive oil, I eat flax seeds, I put chia seeds, and pretty much all my foods, walnuts, almonds, raw of course. Don't use salted or roasted nuts because then you're destroying the fats in them that are good for your brain. I eat that makes you smarter, it's gonna help you with your memory, and then if all that improves, obviously your eyesight's gonna be better, your hearing, your balance, everything's gonna be better. And aside from all that, they have anti-inflammatory benefits. Omega fatty acids are antioxidants. They block that oxidation we talked about, like the rusting metal in the yard. If you cover that metal with some oil or some kind of lubricant, it's not gonna rust. So eating omega fatty acids every day is kind of like painting your brain or putting a protective layer over it so you don't get oxidized. You don't start losing your memory. You don't start having more mental instability, more mental issues. Number 2, and this is also very important, complex carbohydrates. Try to eat things that stabilize your blood sugar. Oats, beans, quinoa, sweet potatoes. Those are steadying. They stabilize your blood sugar. What happens is you eat those foods and they help you lose weight, but they also stabilize your mental health. Why? Because they have a lot of fiber. And while you're digesting them, they take a long time. That's why they're excellent for weight loss. They keep you satiated. They make you feel full. They make you feel full longer. And because they have so much fiber, it takes a while for your body to break it down and suck the sugar out of it. Remember, everything has to get converted to glucose. Remember we talked about oil in the ground, how it gets converted to gasoline for the car. When your body's converting it to glucose, you can actually use it. It takes a while because of all the fiber. It's like a lot of work, and it gives you steady doses of sugar, which we all need to survive again. But it doesn't cause these huge bursts of sugar, like if you ate rice or potatoes or candies or donuts. Those make you go up, and then it spikes your behavior. You're kind of all over the place, and then it comes down. You're kind of like, you don't feel good. With these stabilizing complex carbohydrates, low doses stabilize your blood sugar. It leads to weight loss, and it clarifies and balances your brain. It helps you stay focused and you're more stable. Number 3, antioxidant-rich foods. Remember we talked about omega fatty acids? Well, there's actually foods that have, think of omega fatty acids as kind of lubricant for everything to work in your brain. Now, the omega fatty acids, the antioxidant-rich foods like berries, blueberries, raspberries, dark chocolate with little to no sugar or stevia. I use dark chocolate powder in my drinks with no sugar. Dark green leafy greens, pretty much all raw fruits and vegetables are high in antioxidant, okay? When you eat these foods, it's like sunscreen for your brain. It cuts down the oxidation again. I use that analogy of the rusty metal, and yes, the omega fatty acids will help with that. It's like the oil you put on it, but the antioxidants actually put out the fires that are caused by the inflammatory. They're like the firemen. They come out and actually put out the fires that are being caused by the food that's inflammatory. Inflammation, if you've ever damaged your knee or something, you touch it, it feels hot. It's like a fire broke out. Now you want to put the fire out. So these oxidators, these things that are aging you want to kind of calm them down. And the fireman is going to be the antioxidants from the berries, the dark chocolate, the dark green leafy greens. That's going to slow down aging. It's going to help things function better. Again, you're not going to age as fast, and it's going to protect your brain. Again, all this is the brain. How can we make the brain work better? We want to protect it from oxidative stress, and that's where the berries. So a lot of this comes down to protection. So we want to use these antioxidants to prevent brain damage, prevent oxidative stress. So these antioxidant foods are going to help slow that down or block it in your brain. So if you have some issues, memory issues, some mental health issues, you don't want it to get worse. You can actually make it worse by eating those 200-gram sugar meals or eating candy every day or eating soda every day. You want to avoid that. That's why you want to switch it up and get to foods that are going to prevent that damage so you don't go further down. You don't have a decline. Number 4, probiotics and prebiotics. Remember we talked about the microbiome? That's basically like the farm inside of your body, all the bacteria you have. It's on everything, your skin, your hair, your gut, your lips. You have different bacteria for different purposes. Your body would not function right without bacteria. That's why I don't use bacterial soaps, antibacterial wipes, any of that stuff. Not good in my opinion. Plain old soap and water is good. Taking antibiotics as little as possible, only when actually necessary. Oftentimes I hear people, oh, I got a cold, I'm gonna take a bunch of antibiotics, or I got this, or I have a, no, that's not the way it works. In the US, doctors are real tight with antibiotics. When I go abroad, you can buy it over the counter. People take it every time they have a headache or whatever, a cold. A lot of times, antibiotics are usually for bacteria. That's why they're called antibiotics. And oftentimes colds, COVID, all this kind of stuff, those are viruses. So yes, sometimes antibiotics can come in handy when you have secondary infections, pneumonia, stuff like that, but leave that to the doctor. Just don't take them randomly because they damage your bacteria. And it can actually take you about 2 years to recover your bacteria. I weigh 200 pounds. Between 1 and 5% of my body weight is bacteria. So that would be 2 to 10 pounds. That's a lot. And you depend on them for good mental health. And finally, sometimes the patients will tell me, yeah, you know what, doc, all that sounds great, but that's hard. I can't do that. I say, okay. I like the analogy of how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So start with substituting one thing in your diet at every meal. So then patients will say, okay, doc, all that is great, but how do I do that? That's hard. I say, okay, so start simple. Start with substituting one thing at every meal. Like maybe at your meals, instead of having 2 or 3 sodas, maybe have 1 soda and drink a few glasses of water. You know, maybe start adding some seeds or some nuts, raw nuts, to your salads or whatever it is you eat, oatmeal. Just start introducing little by little, and little by little become a habit. Number 2, make sure you're getting a lot of water. If you're not getting enough water, you're gonna have brain fog, and your brain is not gonna work the way it should. So what I always tell patients that when you wake up in the morning, drink about 3-4 glasses of water, drink a lot of water. After about 5 o'clock, I typically don't drink any water. I might drink a few sips here and there, but I don't drink at night because I don't want it to affect my sleep. So the big thing is to hydrate early and then taper off. That way it's not disturbing your sleep at night, which is obviously very important as well. And then number three, use the crowd out method. Slowly start introducing more vegetables, you know, all these other foods to your diet, and then start crowding out and replacing the things you don't like. For example, let's say you eat a lot of rice. If you think about it, rice doesn't really have any flavor, but everybody likes it. Well, they like it because it has a starch. Remember we talked about the sugar in your brain and addiction? It's physiological to like rice and to like sugar. Sugar actually tastes good. Rice, I don't know, it doesn't have any flavor, but it does feel and taste good for some reason. And it's because of the starch. It's actually coming from your brain. So maybe start reducing the rice, for example, or the potatoes or the pasta. Start replacing it with like buckwheat, oatmeal, you know, quinoa, something like that. Little by little, you don't have to not eat rice, because whatever you try to prohibit yourself from eating, you're gonna want more of it. So just try to crowd it out. Reduce the amount you eat and start replacing it. And after a while, it just happens. You might not even want to eat it anymore, but if you do, it's okay. Just eat it sparingly. So those are some tips that you can try to help stabilize your mental health. I've seen it for 25 years. It's very effective. And again, I got to experience on this trip. I hope that helps. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, like our video, share it with your friends, try to help some other people. From Mongolia, this is Dr. Ernesto. Thank you. Goodbye.